And matter of fact, they play Carolina.
Welcome to Big B Day.
Falcons,
no frauds allowed.
Yeah. Play the Bucks. The Bucks are going to win that game. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Hell, I can't even find it. There it is. Tampa plays Carolina. Huh. Can't find the game. Yeah, there it is. Atlanta and New Orleans. Atlanta plays New Orleans and Tampa plays Carolina. So Tampa's winning. Even if New Orleans wins, it ain't going to matter, man. It ain't going to matter. I don't know who rang the doorbell, but they need to stop. Stop the nonsense. Carolina's not going to win. Stop it, man. Carolina's not going to win. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. But they could. I mean, didn't Carolina win last week? So they could. Anything's possible, man. Anything is possible. Do the Bears make the playoffs next year? I mean, we got to find out exactly what's going on. I mean, it's way too early to be predicting if anybody's going to make the playoffs. Way too early for that. Way too early for that. Yeah, does Justin Fields even play in Chicago? Yeah, we got some time before we get it figured out. Before we can get it figured out. What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Dakota, what's going on, man? We appreciate you back over on YouTube. We appreciate it. Absolutely. Absolutely. David Witherspoon for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I think he wins it. Joey Porter Jr. been playing good too, but Witherspoon made the Pro Bowl, so yeah. Yeah. I think he makes it. I appreciate everybody being on, man. Big B Daily Show. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for coming in. All right. Well, let's get it going, man. Big B Daily Show. We are live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube, man. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you guys for joining the show. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. We're all here Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time, man. So let's get going. Let's talk about some stuff today, man. If you're on TikTok and you're in here, keep tapping the screen. 3,500 likes and at least 30 new follows. So if you're in here, give me a follow, man. We appreciate it. So you said Tomlin needed to go. What do I think now? If the Steelers don't win a playoff game, Tomlin still needs to go. I'm not changing. You know, I love Mike Tomlin, but I'm not changing. So it is what it is. Let's talk about some stuff. Look at Joker last night, man. And the Nuggets, the big comeback over Golden State. That was crazy. Crazy. My thing is, was it more Golden State that won the game, or was it more Golden State that lost the game, or was it more the Nuggets won the game? I think it's a combination of both. Joker made that shot from half court. That's crazy. Absolutely nuts to win it. But Golden State was up 18. How do you give that lead up when you have that kind of a team? I think it's safe to say that Golden State's just not that good anymore. I think we can just say and be confident to say that Golden State's not that good anymore. And Joker just let everybody know and reminded everybody, hey, man, I'm still that guy. I am still that guy. You know, everybody's talking about, SGA, Luka, Embiid, Wemby, Giannis. And Joker said, hold on a second. I'm still one of the best players in the NBA. I am still one of the best players in the NBA. So hold that thought for a second. And he came out and proved it. But again, Golden State, man, gee, many Christmas. I don't know. I just don't know. He just not. They're just not that good. I don't know what Steve Kerr is doing. The rotations seem to be horrible. Kuminga, he wants out. Draymond, who knows what he's going to be like when he comes back. He was a basket case when he was out there. Clay's starting to get it back. Clay was playing pretty bad. He was shooting awful to start the season. He's starting to get it back. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. What I do know is that Joker is still one of the best players in the National Basketball Association. That much I still know. So, just because it was a prayer, that don't mean that he ain't that good. Stop it. Stop the nonsense. TikTok, come on now. Y'all know better than that. Or you should know better than that. But it is what it is. I'm with you. Let's move on, people. Let's move on. So the NFL, the last regular season weekend, I mean, there's still a lot to play for. We were just breaking it down as far as what's going on. I mean, Minnesota and Detroit, that doesn't really mean a lot. Detroit's kind of locked in to what their spot is. So not a ton to play for in that game. Jacksonville, Tennessee. Jacksonville's got to win. Jacksonville, if they want to win the division, they got to win. Pittsburgh and the Ravens. If the Steelers want any chance of making the playoffs, they have to get a victory. They got to get a victory. So Houston and Indianapolis. I mean, both of those games, Steelers, Ravens, Houston, Indianapolis, are on Saturday. We'll know a lot tomorrow because they can't tie. If they tie and the Steelers win, the Steelers make the playoffs. So somebody's going to win that game. And then there's Jacksonville. So Jacksonville and Tennessee. Jacksonville's got to win. Let's see. What other games? Atlanta, New Orleans. I mean, both teams are going to be playing their heart out. However, you don't know what exactly is going to happen between the two of them if they're either going to make it. Because if Tampa ends up beating Carolina, it won't matter. So it really won't matter. So we'll find out. Philly and New York. Yeah, Philly's got to win. If they want to try to win the division, they got to win and hope that Dallas loses to Washington. So both of those teams are going to be playing. Both of them want to win the division. I think Dallas goes to Washington and win, although recent history will tell you that Washington plays the Cowboys tough the last week of the year at home. So we'll see. We will see. Let's see. Seattle, Arizona, Kansas City, and the Chargers. Nope, none of these games. Although, let's back it up a little bit. Within Miami and Buffalo, before we back it up, Miami and Buffalo, I mean, that's the winner. It's almost winner take all. I know if Miami's still in the playoffs, but they'll drop from the 2 seed to the 6 seed. And if Buffalo loses, they're out. So that'll be a great game. Sunday Night Football, basically the last regular season game of the year. We'll see what happens down in Miami. But there's a lot of incentives too, man, that kind of make the weekend even more intriguing. There's a ton of incentives that are going on right now. Like Baker Mayfield. Let's take a look at this, man. He already made $1 million for playing time incentives. He had to play 85% of the snaps. He's already passed that. So he gets $1 million. And if they make the playoffs, he gets another $1 million. And they got to win the game. Incentive. Jordan Love, $1.5 million for playoffs and 65% for playing time. So Jordan Love, basically, he's already hit the 65% threshold as far as playing time. And then if they make the playoffs, which they got to beat the Bears to get in, and if they do, I think they will, he gets a total of $1.5 million. Geno Smith, it's going to be tough for Seattle. Some people got to lose. But if they do happen to make the playoffs, he gets $2 million incentive for Geno. And then Chris Jones, he needs a half a sack for $1.25 million. A half a sack for $1.25 million. It's crazy. One thing that I thought, there's a bunch of other ones that are out here, man. There's a bunch of other avenues that are crazy. Some of these incentives. Like Austin Eckler needs 110 yards from scrimmage to reach 1,125 yards for the season, which would give him $100,000. DeAndre Hopkins. Now, that's one that I think is crazy. Hopkins, his bonus is 1.5. He already made 1.5 million in incentives for receptions, yards, and touchdowns. But he makes an extra 250 if he gets 7 catches. If he brings in, that would give him 75 on the season. He gets another 250 if he gets 39 yards on those receptions, which I think is crazy. And then he gets another 250 for 2 touchdowns. So basically, he gets 7 catches, 39 yards, 2 touchdowns for an extra $750,000. Tennessee's already been eliminated, so they may be just looking to get Hopkins that extra incentive. So, but you know how teams can be. They may sit him out because the team doesn't want to pay that extra money. So they may go a different direction. We'll see how that goes. Devin Singletary playing in his finale against the Colts. He's for the Texans. He gets $125,000 for reaching 55% of Texas offensive snaps. He's at 53.8. So if they play 67 snaps, which is their average, he'd have to play 50 of them to get to 55. I think Houston stops him from doing it. What do y'all think? I think Houston will stop him from doing it and paying that extra money. You know how teams are. You know how teams can be. Jadeveon Clowney. Here's one. And this is the thing. Him and Chris Jones, it's like, are they even going to play? Because Kansas City's got the 3 seed wrapped up. Baltimore has the 1 seed and the bye wrapped up. Clowney already hit 1 incentive because he needed 7 sacks. He's got 8.5. But that goes up to 1.75 if he gets 9. So he needs a half a sack for an extra $750,000. It's just some of these incentives, man. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. So I don't know. But we'll see. We will 100% see. But yeah, man, at the end of the football season this year is going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Tannehill is going to make sure to get those. I don't know about Tannehill. Basket case Tannehill. If my incentives are tied to basket case Tannehill, I'm not feeling good. I'll just be honest. I'm not feeling good about it. Basket case Tannehill. I'm having to tie my incentives to him. I'm not happy about it. I am not happy about it. But what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? It is what it is. It is what it is. Now, let's move on, people. Let's move on. We had a good discussion earlier today. I was on live earlier. What's going on, James Richards? What's happening? We had a real good discussion on live on TikTok earlier today, and we were talking about NFL GOATs. And it got wild, which is what I like. It got wild. So, and if anybody wants to come up and join and we can chit chat, let's do it. Let's do it. But yeah, it got wild. And because what I put out a post today was talking about the best player that's ever played in the National Football League. And I'm not backing down. I believe that it's Lawrence Taylor. Yes, LT. That is my guy. I know Tom Brady is a lot of people's GOAT as far as the quarterback position. And quarterback is the most important position on the football field. Arguably, I don't really even think arguably, the most important position in sports. However, the best player ever, Lawrence Taylor. He made another position relevant. Somebody was arguing with me about it. Oh, he didn't make a left tackle relevant. Really? He didn't? He didn't make left tackle a relevant position? Oh, my goodness. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. LT was that guy. He dominated against the run. He dominated in pass coverage, and he killed your quarterback. He had to be accounted for on every single snap. Every snap. And if you didn't account for him, he wrecked your play. Is somebody on TikTok? Yes, King. Micah Parsons wishes he could be him. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Everybody talking about how Micah Parsons was the next LT. Come on, man. Stop it. Stop. Micah Parsons is awful against the run. They run right at him. They run right at him with no fear. They weren't running at LT. Yes, Chuck, he changed the way that offenses play offensive football. LT did that. You had to get an athletic left tackle to deal with him. A big athletic left tackle. Before, they were just guys. Now left tackle is the second most important position on the team because of Lawrence Taylor. Because of Lawrence Taylor. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Parsons isn't even a D lineman. He's just doing that because that's what Dallas needs. So, I mean, Parsons is an outstanding rush end. An outstanding rush end. But he ain't good against the run, and it doesn't matter where he lines up. He ain't good against the run. So, I didn't compare him to Lawrence Taylor. Come on, Overstreet. Don't come into the conversation halfway through and then start accusing people. I didn't say he was Lawrence Taylor. I didn't compare him to Lawrence Taylor. Micah Parsons ain't in the same class as Lawrence Taylor. Not even close. Not even close. And that's true. Darren Howard, right tackle, is just important because TJ Watt plays on that side. So both tackles have become just as important, and Lawrence Taylor started that. So, no, nobody said that Lawrence is the next, or that Micah Parsons is the next Lawrence Taylor. You're wrong. Nobody said that. People were saying that. Nobody in here was saying that. Stop it. So, Oh, and if anybody's old enough, my man Matt Hasselbring over on YouTube, Tecmo Bowl doesn't lie. LT, the greatest defender ever. He couldn't be blocked on Tecmo Bowl. Just ran through your linemen. He was the only guy who could tackle Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl. So, the only guy who could tackle Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl was Lawrence Taylor. So, but that's Tecmo Bowl. But that's valid. That's valid. Very valid. And here's a good question, too, by my man Matt Hasselbring. Will CMC be an all-time great if he stays healthy? Yeah, he's got to be. I think he's got to be. He's still got some more things to do because the type of running back that he is, he's a running back like Marshall Faulk. Well, I'm not going to put CMC in the same class as Marshall Faulk. Not yet. No. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. CMC is not the same caliber as Marshall Faulk yet. But if he keeps going, yes. Absolutely. But no, he's not already. No. STB Manny, no. He's not already in that class. He isn't. I mean, you can name 20 running backs right now that are better than CMC, all time that are better than him. You can do that. You may not want to do that, but you can do that. You can do that. So to be considered an all-time great, I think you got to be in the top 20 at least. What do y'all think? I think you got to at least be in the top 20. Right now, he's not in the top 20. But he can get there. He can get there. So now the wide receiver was a big topic that we were talking about earlier. But there was a lot of young guys. Guys didn't even have Jerry Rice in the top 4. I'm like, okay. It just, and it became insufferable to even have those kinds of conversations. So, but my top 5 as far as wide receivers, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Megatron, Larry Fitzgerald. Just outside of that, Antonio Brown, Steve Largent, Chris Carter's of the world. I mean, it gets dicey once you get past 5. But I think that 5 is solid. Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, T.O. People don't know how good T.O. was, man. They just trip off the crazy antics, but T.O. was that guy. Megatron, If Megatron could have stayed healthy and played a little longer, how good could he have been? I always say if Megatron didn't get hurt and played longer, Megatron would have been the best ever. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. Now, nobody's ever going to have the stats that Jerry Rice did. Nobody's ever going to have those stats. But because nobody's going to play 20 years at that high a level. But man, Megatron was good. So, or if he didn't play with Detroit, I'm not going to say that because Detroit, I mean, he played with them and he had some great years at Detroit. So, how can I use all those names? Because I just did. That's how I can use all those names. Players get bigger, faster, stronger every year. That don't mean they're better. Just because you're bigger, faster, stronger, that don't make you better. Sheesh. Man, look, it's not what happened yesterday doesn't make you the greatest, man. Just because you're bigger, faster, stronger doesn't always make you better. Oh, here's a good list. Rice, Moss, Steve Smith, T.O., Marvin Harrison. Ooh, I don't know. I love me some Steve Smith, and I definitely love me some Marvin Harrison, but they don't get in my top 5. They don't get in my top 5. Tim Brown's another good one. So, yeah, I don't think Peyton Manning made Marvin Harrison. I think they were great for each other. A lot of people knock guys for playing with other good players. A lot of people knock guys for playing with other good players. I don't think you can do that. I think that it makes your job easier. Absolutely. 100% it makes your job easier. When you play with better football players, it absolutely makes your job easier. So, but that doesn't mean I'm a less of a player. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that I happen to play with somebody great. For instance, nobody says Magic Johnson is not very good or isn't as good because he played with Kareem and James Worthy. Or people, or at least not intelligent people, aren't saying that Larry Bird wasn't as good because he played with Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. So, and by the way, if you do hear anybody saying that, I'm a Larry Bird guy. If you hear anybody saying that, walk away from the conversation. Just walk away from the conversation. It's not going to end well. They don't know what they're talking about. Just simply walk away. So, 5 through 10 receivers, it gets dicey. That's what I'm saying. I mean, Marvin Harrison would have to be in that list. Antonio Brown for sure. Steve Largent for sure. Chris Carter. Oh, man. It just gets dicey for me. You know, on where you go and who you put in. That's why I never do a top 10. I don't do a top 10. I only do a top 5 because I feel like after 5, and you all can tell me I'm wrong. I'll be more than happy to listen to you. After 5, it starts becoming more opinionated. All of it's opinionated, but once you get after the top 5, then it becomes what's your preference. You know what I mean? Oh, Larry Fitzgerald. We already said Larry Fitzgerald's in the top 5. But once you get past 5, then it becomes a preference of who you would prefer. I think everybody can come up with a solid top 5 that always looks the same. Now, they can be silly and throw some guys in there. And the order is usually a little bit different. But I think for the most part, people can come up with a solid top 5. When you start going to 10, and I'm not saying top 10 lists aren't valid because I think they are. I just think it starts becoming more of a preference. Like there's going to be a lot of Steeler fans out there, even though Antonio Brown is nuts, that's going to say Antonio Brown's in the top 5. So A lot of people. Mm-mm-mm. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Overstreet, what do you realistic people know that would be average in today's game of the NBA? Who are you talking about? Are you talking about Larry Bird would be average in today's NBA? Is that what you're saying? Because if you are, I and everybody else in here is going to make fun of you. Yep, I thought you were saying that. So Luka, who isn't better than Larry Bird, plays just fine in the NBA, but somehow Larry Bird wouldn't be okay. Is that what you're saying? Because if you are, I'll treat you that way. Because that's one of the dumber statements I've ever heard. I'll just move on. It's wild. See, it's stuff like that when you know guys aren't old enough to watch basketball and don't know enough about basketball that will come in and say stuff that Larry Bird couldn't play in today's NBA. He would just be average. Let Luka, though, he plays just fine in the NBA. Huh. It's amazing. It's just like, Jokic. Can't jump, isn't athletic, but yet somehow is the most dominant big man, him and Embiid, in the NBA. It's amazing. What's good, Hoop Social? We're just talking. Somebody was talking NBA, said that Larry Bird would just be an average player, bro, in today's NBA. And sometimes you just got to dismiss people for being too young and listening to social media and just having absolutely no idea what they're talking about. So it is what it is. But we're getting back to NFL. Getting back to NFL. Yes, delusional comment. Exactly. We're getting back to NFL GOATs. Let's get back to it. I apologize. We just had to address that. Because some people they say crazy stuff, and I just have to get on their head about it. Y'all know me. Fraud comment of the week, says my man Wakan. Fraud comment of the week. That could be the fraud comment of the decade. That could be the fraud comment of the decade. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So, good question here. Again, my man, Matt Hasselbring. What current wide receivers today could make top 5? Hill? Jefferson? Yeah. People say Jamar Chase. Are y'all that high on Jamar Chase? You can be honest. Are y'all that high on Jamar Chase? Because his route running is average at best. He's a dominant receiver, physical, fast, athletic, but his route running leaves a lot to be desired. So I think Tyreek Hill can be. So Jefferson can be. I'm not even saying Chase can't be. I'm just not sure how high I am on him right now. Plus, it's hard to compare guys now to guys that played 20 years ago because the catch numbers and yards and everything is so inflated because of how basketball or football is played these days. So CD's got a long way to go, Dallas. CD Lamb's got a long way to go, but I get what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down. If CD stays at the level, yeah, he could. You're exactly right. But he's still got a long way to go. The thing that I think that's funny about CD Lamb, people were saying at the beginning of the year that he wasn't a top 10 receiver, which I thought was insane to begin with. Like, how is he not a top 10 receiver? And now you're not hearing anybody say that. Well, you shouldn't have said that at the beginning of the year. What are you talking about? He's not a top 10 receiver. So Hill's route running isn't great, just speed. You don't watch a lot of football, do you, Overstreet? You don't watch Hill, do you? You think he just runs past people? Man, what is it today? Is it a full moon, people? Is it a full moon? Whew. Golly. Come on, brother. You're better than this, man. You're better than this. Go watch a Miami Dolphins football game and then tell me that Hill is not just running past people. Oh, goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Oh. CD is the top 3 this season, and he ain't 3. I could go with that. I could go with that. Except I think he's probably 3rd. But I can live with it. I can put him in the top 3 this year. So. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. But I get it, man. Let's get back to these GOATs. Let's get back to these NFL GOATs, people. Who would, let's see. Yeah, we were talking about Calvin Johnson earlier, Hoop Social. Who would have had a better legacy if he'd played out their career, Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson? Well, I think Barry Sanders would have had a better legacy. I still think if Calvin Johnson played out, I still think he could have been talked about as the best wide receiver ever. Now, he's never going to be talked about that, but I think he would have been in that conversation. Barry Sanders is already the greatest running back ever. And he would have dusted the record. I mean, it was 1,500 yards away when he quit. He'd have beat the record before Emmett and put it out of reach of Emmett. He was a better running back than Emmett. So since we're talking about running backs, and let's just go top 5 running backs. Top 5 running backs. Spoiler alert, Emmitt Smith is not in it. Spoiler alert, Emmitt Smith is not in the top 5 of running backs. For me, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Eric Dickerson, and a lot of people, I mentioned him earlier. You know, I went back and forth. You can, at 5, it gets a little touchy. You could say OJ. You could say Marshall Faulk. And that's who I like. Or you could say Adrian Peterson. That's one of my boys. He loves Adrian Peterson and has him in the top 5. A lot of people say LaDainian Tomlinson. I don't have him there. I have him like 6 or 7 or 8. But I like Marshall Faulk at 5. I like Marshall Faulk at 5. Chuck Muncie. I love it. I love it. What's my beef with Emmett? I don't have a beef with Emmett. I don't have a beef at all. He just wasn't as good as those other guys. I mean, no beef with Emmett. I mean, he played behind a good line, but again, you don't badmouth people and downplay their career because they played with good people. You can't take Emmett's yards away or any of that just because he played with a good team and behind a good line. But you can watch football and say, hey, these other guys are better than he is. You can watch football and say that. You can do that. But you don't have to. I'm not the guy that badmouths other football players or other players in general to pump up somebody that I like. I don't do that. You don't have to do that. So you don't have to do that. Overstreet says top 5 safeties. Top 5 safeties. Well, it's weird because there's a free safety and a strong safety, but the best safety ever is Ronnie Lott. And that goes without question. Anybody that's an all-pro, not Pro Bowler, an all-pro at all 3 defensive back positions is better than everybody. Period. End of story. I don't want to hear anything else about it. Ronnie Lott would be number 1. Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu. And again, you got to, when you're throwing them all together, free safety and strong safety are very, very different positions. You know, Rod Woodson, even though Rod Woodson to me is the second greatest corner ever, when he flipped over and started playing safety, he was amazing. He was an amazing, yes. Yes, Rod Woodson was an amazing safety. And that was after he had a Hall of Fame career as a cornerback. So, Brian Dawkins, yeah. As a strong safety, yeah. I like Brian Dawkins. The guy that doesn't get enough pub that was an amazing safety is Darren Woodson. Darren Woodson for the Cowboys, he doesn't get enough love. Darren Woodson was outstanding, an outstanding safety. Rodney Harrison was good. Rodney Harrison wasn't great in coverage, though. Rodney Harrison wasn't great in coverage. So, John Lynch, love John. There's a lot of good safeties, man. A lot of good safeties. You know, a lot of good safeties. What's this? Where would you rank Andre Johnson in the top 15? James Richards says Andre Johnson top 15. I don't know. TikTok, YouTube. Do y'all think Andre Johnson's in the top 15 for wide receivers? I say no, but it's close. And I like Andre Johnson. But I don't think he's in the top 15. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Yeah. But I don't think he's top 15. I don't think he's top 15. Yeah, Keegan, I agree. I don't think he's top 15. So, John Tatum or Jack Tatum from my man Wakan, I mean, I don't know how good Jack Tatum really was. I mean, he just tried to kill people on the football field. I mean, that's all he did, was just try to kill people. Literally. And that was back when if you did kill somebody, they didn't even throw a flag. Just scrape them off the field and let's keep it going. You know? I mean, he paralyzed the guy on a play that they didn't throw a flag. You know? Bob Sanders, no. Not one of the best safeties ever. What did he play? 2 healthy seasons? No. And before anybody says anything, Sean Taylor, that got brought up earlier today. Look, everybody hates how Sean Taylor's life was ended. Tragic, disgusting, ridiculous, all the words. But that doesn't make Sean Taylor one of the best safeties ever. He just wasn't. He was very good, and he could have gotten there. Don't get me wrong. He was on his way there. But the first couple years in the league, Sean Taylor wasn't that good. So, but was he going to get there? I think he was definitely going to get there. However, wasn't one of the best to ever play. No. And it's sad because I think he would have been. Now, what about corners? Let's talk corners. Corners gets weird. Because you got Dion is 1. I have Rod Woodson as 2. And I think you're crazy. I know a lot of people, especially young people, they think Rod Woodson was a safety. No, he was actually a Hall of Fame corner before he was a safety. So you got Dion 1, Rod Woodson 2, Darrell Green 3. So then what? Darrell Revis? Champ Bailey? I mean, I think you got to put Revis at least at 4. At least at 4. Maybe 3 over Green, but he's no further than 4. Dre Bly, stop it. Ooh, I love it. That's why I love y'all, man. Y'all keep me laughing, man. Ty Law. I like Ty Law. Ty Law's he was a good corner. Not top 5, but good corner. Charles Woodson. I liked Woodson better as a safety than as a corner. You know what I'm saying? I liked him better as a safety. Doesn't mean he was a bad corner. I just liked him better as a safety. Renfro, for sure. You know, somebody put in Night Train Lane. Yes. Yes. My man Wacan knows football. He knows his history. I love it. I love Eli Apple, Pac-Man Jones. Woo, woo. I love it. I love it. I love it. Antonio Cromartie was the MVP of having kids. See, now, this is why I love the Goon Squad. This is why I love the Goon Squad. Man, Sherman was fine, but Sherman was a cover 3 corner. He never traveled with the best receiver. And he was fine. Don't get me wrong. He was good, but Sherman's not in that class. Sauce Gardner, stop. Stop. Mm-mm-mm. Go blue all the way. So, what other position can we talk about before we shut this down? What about offensive tackle? I was just talking about left tackle. Here's my left tackle list. I have 3, and then it gets, again, dicey. I got Jonathan Ogden, Walter Jones, Anthony Munoz. Jonathan Ogden, Walter Jones, Anthony Munoz. Do you want to put Larry Allen? I think Larry Allen would be in the guard slot. I know he played a season or 2 at left tackle, but I would say left guard would be his better position. Joe Thomas for sure. That's what I'm saying. Then it gets dicey. It gets dicey, man. So many good left tackles over the years. So many good ones. You know? But yeah, Jonathan Ogden, Walter Jones, and Anthony Munoz. Michael Orr. Stop it. Woo! Oh, blindside. Oh, blindside. So, yeah, Ogden was nuts. Jonathan Ogden was nuts. And Walter Jones, I mean, he just wasn't as tall as Ogden. Orlando Pace, yes. Yes. Dan Deerdorf back in the day, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Stop, Chuck Miller. You're going to stop it. Talking about Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown has stolen money from the NFL, acting like he's one of the best left tackles in football today. He is like a turnstile out there. Oh, my God. He doesn't block anybody. Jiminy Christmas. That guy. I mean, literally, he doesn't block anybody. Trent Williams, yeah. Got to throw him in there. Aeneas Williams at corner, yes. Now, we're going to end it on this, people. We're going to end it on this. And this may take a minute. And I know we've talked about this before. Is Devin Hester a Hall of Famer? I say no. I say no. Or let me clarify that. I think he can get into the Hall of Fame, but I would take a kicker, Justin Tucker, over him in the Hall of Fame all day, every day. All day, every day. That's my opinion. I'm not saying that Devin Hester can't be in the Hall of Fame. And one day, he probably should be. But I am taking a kicker because the kicker has way more impact on the game than he did. Period. End of story. And some people try to act like, well, you could just get the ball in Devin Hester's hands and he could score. No, he was a terrible receiver. What are you talking about? If he was that good of a receiver, they'd have given him the ball all the time. That's crazy. That's crazy. And you didn't hold your breath anytime he was back there, man. He was great. Not good. He was great. He's the best kick returner ever. But if I just kick it out of the end zone, how good was he? He had no impact. Or if I kicked it out, punted the ball out of bounds, he had no impact. So other than field position, which that means something. That means something. So, and you can't forget about the Super Bowl return. You can't forget about that. Starting a game like that. But I think everybody in here are smart football people. Although Overstreet, we're starting to guess about you. But I would guess everybody in here would take a kicker over a return guy. Even the best return guy. Give me a solid kicker. That's who I want on my team. You ain't even got to be the best kicker ever. Just a guy that I can depend on. Just a guy that I can depend on. You know, a Chris Boswell from the Steelers. You'll take him. You'll take him. So, and yes, there it is. Dion could have been a Hall of Famer if he was allowed to be a full-time return guy. And there it is. But he wasn't because he was too valuable on defense and on offense when he played offense. So, all right, people. I appreciate y'all, man. We're going to shut this one down for today. So, we will be back Monday talking college football playoff. Who's going to win? Who's not going to win? We will get into all of that. We'll talk about who got into the NFL playoffs. We'll get into all of that, what the matchups look like. We will talk about all of that good stuff. Remember, on TikTok, if you're in here and you're not following, please give us a follow. We appreciate it. And if you're on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. YouTube, do the same. If you're following, click that YouTube link in my bio. Come on over to YouTube. Subscribe to Big B Sports Talk, man. Come on over. You got a lot of stuff, a lot of access to stuff. Podcast, interviews, shorts, hot soup fantasy football, a lot of stuff, man. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you. Everybody have a good weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. Aloha.